We all understand the type of climate that we're dealing with. We're dealing with multiple offer situations.
I'd love to know sort of what's your why? What makes you tick? Why are you so successful?
Have a dialogue with your lawyer. Have a dialogue with your agent.
Both sort of passionate about sort of what we do.
Again, vet your agent to make sure that they're experienced and they're local. I like that idea.
No excuse to miss it on Saturdays from 8 to 9.
That's right.
WBZ.
And now, the show that gives you the latest and most relevant housing market news. Real Estate Radio Boston with financial expert Rick Shearer and legal professional Ali Alavi.
Let's bring on Erica Wallace from Wallace Consulting Group. Hey, Erica.
Hello. How are you guys?
What's happening?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm great. This week we're looking at an app that can help with some of the landscaping challenges we all have this time of year when it's still kind of brown. And the app is called iScape, and it allows you to take a blank canvas. So take a picture of your house, a friend's house, whoever, a dream house, and you can actually play around with the way that the grass is laid out, where the pavement goes, where additional walls go, where flowers go, all different kinds of trees. They have a big library of all these different things, from water features to flowers and shrubs, that you can move around and virtually decorate the front of your yard or lay out a backyard. And whether you're a contractor who's looking to help the client visualize, or a real estate agent who's trying to help the client make a few changes before bringing it on the market to increase the curb appeal, it's a great app to just get an idea to help visualize for the client.
Wow. That's amazing. So you have various libraries that you can actually draw from after you take a picture of the outside of your house?
Yes, exactly. So the free version includes, some of the more basic ones, and then the full version, and you could certainly get away with that if you were just trying to see what the grass would look like in front of like an empty lot. But if you buy the full version at $9.99, it opens up the library of everything. So they have, pools and waterfalls and all different architectural features and hardscapes and landscapes, and so you really can, paint your perfect vision of a yard.
That's awesome, because to be quite frank, we're actually thinking about doing a pool and trying to figure out the layout and all that sort of thing. I'd love to try to do that in the backyard, sort of. Because my wife,
really easy to use too. You just snap a picture and move the things around, drag and drop, and they make it really easy. And it's available for the iPad and the Android.
Wow! Thank you, Erica.
Thanks.
So Brownstone Realty Group is a residential redevelopment business. So we focus on purchasing homes that need a little or a lot of TLC, as you put it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And we go ahead and do the work on those properties and then get them back on the retail market or hold them for cash flow.
So how do you sort of find the properties that you look to redevelop?
Mm-hmm. We actually find them in a number of different ways, mostly off-market opportunities. So we do buy a little bit on the MLS. Bank-owned properties typically end up getting bid up a little higher than what we'd like to pay. So usually we find off-market opportunities, estate sales, folks that need to sell maybe because they're relocating or going through a divorce, and they just don't want to deal with the hassle of putting their house on the market and having to pay the realtor commissions and deal with the time on the market and picky buyers who want them to do a lot to the house before they actually buy.
Yes.
How quickly, if they came to Brownstone Realty, would you be able to essentially purchase the property?
Yeah. We actually are able to purchase from the time we make an offer within 2 to 3 weeks, really as quickly as those sellers want to move forward.
Wow, that's amazing. Because you have access to your own private financing.
Absolutely. We buy everything cash, and so that gives us the ability to move quickly and allow folks to be able to sell as fast as they need to.
So,
well, because we're in the redevelopment business, we have the opportunity to provide potential buyers with the ability to really come in and make that house their home right from the start. So we can provide off-market opportunities, allow folks to come in and really make some of the choices that they would like to in their house. Colors for the for the paint, different types of granite, flooring, etc. So they can choose their custom cabinets as opposed to just having to take what's there when it's on the retail market.
Tell me a little bit about the analysis that goes into finding out whether that opportunity is right for you.
Absolutely. So when we are looking at properties, we want to make sure that we have a really good understanding of what the after repair value is going to be. And so we spend a lot of time analyzing the current market and what the recent solds are in the area. And then we also go through a process of figuring out what needs to get done as far as the rehab goes. So we create a rehab budget right away, right out of the gates, to decide if it's going to make sense for us. And then
First time meeting with a first time home buyer.
Sure.
How do you sort of set the stage?
The first thing we do is sit down and talk about your goals for home ownership. Do you want to live in a condo and see yourself in a house 10 years down the road?
Mm-hmm.
Do you want the house right now? Do you want to buy a multifamily and rent out the other units? We talk about a lot of these, what's expected of you, to own any of these properties and what it will be like in the long run. So this is actually a good homework assignment for all the future home buyers out there. Take out a piece of paper and draw 2 separate columns. In the first column, make a list of all the things you absolutely need to have in your next home, and another column of what you want to have, but wouldn't necessarily be a deal breaker for you if a potential place didn't have these things. So, basically there are strategies for getting your offers accepted if you do need to get a mortgage contingency. A good strategy is talk to your lender about potential outcomes if the appraisal doesn't come in right at the purchase price. If you can maybe put a little bit more money down, try to bridge that gap, you might be able to make an offer that says subject to the property appraising at a maximum value under the purchase price. Right. Now, the seller really needs to understand you're not waiving your mortgage contingency, but this is a way to show them you've done your due diligence. You're just not making a crazy over the asking price offer without having done your homework. My job is to manage your expectations and communicate with you through the process, keep an eye on important deadlines, and introduce you to a great team of contacts, including home inspectors, real estate attorneys, lenders, and ultimately all...
She meant real estate attorney
MSA,
and lender.
Mortgage.
Okay, go ahead.
Obviously.
No, but she highlights it really. I mean, she's saying this very quickly, which is fine because you want to get through your whole list. But really, identifying the right team up front makes the process so much more easier. Right. Don't you agree?
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, buying or selling a home really is a full-time job. Being a real estate agent is my full-time job, so let me guide you through this process and introduce you to the people that can help you get through to getting those keys. It's the best feeling in the world.
100% right. I mean...
Now is the time to sort of say, okay, let me go and see what I've got for equity. It might be time.
How would they do that? I mean, if I'm curious as to how much equity I got in my property, how would I go about
I cringe when I say this, but the easiest, simplest way is actually to check Zillow. I'm not a big fan of Zillow, I think, but
Neither
I
am I.
think it gets us to a point, though, where we have a basis to work off of. Make sure that your information in Zillow is correct. Remember, this is all public record they're pulling. So if you've got an extra bedroom, an extra bath, and something they're missing, the number's obviously going to be off. But really, that's how the comps are off, too. So at the end of the day, I mean, it's a best place to start.
It is a great place to start, but I mean, they can also go to realestateradioboston.com, and we have already vetted agents, and they can certainly provide them with a comparative market analysis, and it gives them a pretty good idea of what their property is worth.
Yep. And if we, what I always try to do is I set up worst case scenario with clients. Okay, let's say it comes in worst case scenario and you have 5% equity, 10% equity, 15% equity, 20% equity. So if they feel that they've got 20% equity or even 15% equity, I always sort of give them the whole thing to say, okay, well, now let's get an actual appraisal done. It's going to cost $400, $350. But at the end of the day, we have something to fall back on. So if you're out in the marketplace right now for a refinance, I would always suggest doing a no points and no closing cost refinance.
I love that. Okay.
So
how does that work?
It actually doesn't cost. And typically, let's just use round numbers. If you could pay closing costs of a couple $1,000s at 4%, well, you can take a 4 1/8% rate. And the spread of that interest rate goes to pay those closing costs. Now, if you're coming off of a 5% interest rate down to a 4 1/8% interest rate, that's pure savings. Okay, because you're not paying anything out of pocket. Right. It's called the total cost analysis. It's a program that we have through Mortgage Coach, and it allows me to put for a refinance transaction, I can put what they're currently paying today, right down to how many years left they have on it, because that brings into it. If you've paid into this mortgage for 10 years, and you're at a little bit higher of an interest rate, sometimes I'll tell you, stick with what you got.